Hey everyone, so I wanted to talk about money here for a little while, and there aren't many subject matters that churn my stomach more than the subject of money and the monetary system. And the monetary system, money, is just another example of how humans just squander their own potential and stifle their own progress. So I just think of how over half the world's population is actually starving to death. I think it's 60% or over, probably more than, I think it's more than 60% of the global population. So think about that. At least 3 out of 5 people on this planet right now don't have enough food. Not because there isn't enough food or resources, simply because those individuals don't have enough money. Okay, money is just paper. It's all tied to interest. Okay, it's all based on debt. It's all on credit. It's just numbers on screen now for the most part, because all of it's just on credit for the most part. I mean, people are using credit cards more than cash now anyway, and it's it's really sick because there are actually places in the world where there are fully stocked grocery stores, and there are people in the same areas that are starving. They don't have enough food. Okay, because they don't have enough money. All right, and it's just another example of how humans have really just turned this whole planet. I mean, you can go on and on for hours, days even, about just all the things screwed up about this planet, and just how humans just fail, and humans fail first and foremost in understanding what compassion is. Okay, and that word gets thrown around a whole lot. People have no idea what compassion actually understands and means, and I don't know if that's like within the scope of this video to talk about it, because that could be a lengthy discussion, but it could also be a really simple discussion. To me, compassion is just, viewing other people as your brother, really, or as your own self, right? The golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you, or just view others as yourself, really. um and maybe that could get into some sort of philosophical discussion about how, well, maybe people just hate themselves, and that's why they act so brutish, outwardly towards other people. But I don't know. I mean, who's to say? Because things are so individual. There's so many different states of consciousness. Even in the you got over 7 billion people now. Each individual has their own unique viewpoint, their own state of consciousness. So who's to really say? I've said in the past that one idea or one concept approach towards life could work for one person but cripple another person. You know what I mean? So you really ultimately have to put things to the test and just see what works for you in your day-to-day life. Okay, and ultimately for the unfoldment of your awareness. Okay, so it's really, I kind of go back and forth between having heartfelt compassion, because I do consider myself to be a heartfelt person for other people, but at the same time just not having sympathy, because I realize that a lot of these people, um, they don't they're kind of lost in a way, but they don't reciprocate compassion outwardly. In other words, they don't really have genuine concern, for the well-being of others, of their fellow man, right, or other animals, or whatever, or just it really just boils down to a lack of reverence for life. So we live in a society where God essentially is replaced with the worship of money, and the worship of the state, the government, the monetary system, and the state. Because people don't want to assume responsibility. Freedom. People talk about freedom and liberty and liberation. They don't understand what that actually implies. What it means. It means responsibility. It means assuming responsibility for your own state of consciousness, and whatever shows up on your plate. And that could be a hard pill to swallow for people. That people talk about this whole idea with red pilling, and most of those people talking about red pilling, they're just they don't know what the hell they're talking about, quite frankly. They're just talking about some some vague idea, or maybe they're talking about some stuff that the Illuminati is doing or whatever. But the real truest red pill, and the hardest red pill to swallow, is to assume absolute 100% responsibility for everything that shows up in your life, inwardly and outwardly. Okay, and that's a really hard pill to swallow for people. I'm sure in some ways I'm still swallowing that pill. It's still making its way down my trachea, you know, because it's hard to swallow. But I've accepted that. I've accepted that as a fact of life, and there is still a part of me, of that human self, that's sort of the humans who I just consider humans like maggots with arms and legs. I mean, that sounds harsh, but that's really that's really what's that's really how I look at it. Not necessarily in a condemning or critical way, although it sounds that way, but it's more like I said, comedic. I have a pretty, lighthearted attitude about things in my day-to-day life, and like I said previously, I tend to come on here and just vent a lot. So, but that's all it is. It's just a big turd, and it's like a big plastic turd because of all the, the plastic that's just everywhere. But it's a big. The whole planet is just like a big waste heap. It's a big turd, and you have humans sniveling and groveling and competing with each other to get to the top of the pile of shit, to get to the top of the pile of turds, so that they could be the first to plant their flag, on top of that turd pile. And that's really all I see. It's like, okay, you win an argument, you win a debate, you win some sort of contest or competition. It's yours 1 minute and someone else's the next. Whatever you gain through competing, through competition, it's yours. It's fleeting. It's never really satisfactory. It's never satisfying at the soul level, at the spiritual level. Okay, be a creator. Don't be a competitor. Okay, if you read the book, a good book to read is Wallace D. Wattles' The Science of Getting Rich. Okay, and it's not just about money. You could take the concepts in that book and apply it really to anything in life. Okay, be a competitor. He said, beware of the competitive mind. Okay, that was one of the key points in his work. There was beware of the competitive mind. Okay, and then he made a quote. He stated a quote from Jones of Toledo, who was a governor of Toledo, Ohio, at the turn of the 20th century, I believe. And he said, "What I want for myself, I want for everybody." Right. So get out of the creative mind and get out of the competitive mind rather, and get into the creative mind. And like I said previously, just try not to have an agenda with people. Try to be accommodating for people, and be a good listener. Work on your listening skills. Work on your tolerance skills. Okay. My tolerance is tested every day. But that's just part of it. The daily irritations of human life, guys. That's why we're here. Why are we here? We're here to test ourselves. We're here because we agreed to be here. That's the bottom line. And it goes back to that whole thing of accepting full responsibility for whatever comes up, for whatever appears. Okay. So that's it. I'm gonna cut it off here, and hope you're all well. Spring is finally here. It finally feels like spring. So I hope it's the same wherever you are. Unless you're in the southern hemisphere, then it's pretty much the exact opposite. But anyway, I'm going to stop talking now, and I hope you're all doing well. Share your thoughts, comments in the comment section down below, and yeah, I'll talk to you guys soon. Hope you're well. Peace.